this Black Friday sales, I guess the big takeaway is that there is a bit more discretionary spending happening, which is good news. Could be the fact that bargains are around, so people are just looking for a good deal, but also the fact that interest rates have fallen, so there's more money in the back pocket to be spent on other things.
Yeah.
So it's, I guess, a good sign for this upcoming trading season. Hopefully it becomes more broad-based, the gains.
Yeah.
I mean, people have to go buy Christmas
You
presents
definitely
like
do.
me.
Kia ora koutou and welcome to Markets, Mystics and Mayhem, a weekly podcast with Kiwibank's economics team alongside the occasional special guest. We'll delve into the data, decipher policy decisions, monitor the markets and analyse the issues impacting the Kiwi economy. Let's get into it.
Okay, welcome back to Markets, Mystics and Mayhem. Sabrina, we're talking about Black Friday sales this week. Let me ask you a question. How was your Black Friday? Did you participate in the Mayhem?
I did participate, but I have to say it was not like Black Friday. It was more like Black November and like honestly Black October too. I think I even messaged you at the end of October being like, did we miss Black Friday sales? And I had to ask you, when is actually Black Friday? Because I remember towards the end of October already seeing sales for Black Friday advertised as Black Friday sales. And yeah, it just felt like the sales went on forever. But I did participate.
Oh yeah.
I didn't feel like the sales were as good as previous years though. What did you think?
Yeah, I didn't think it was. I feel like exactly like you, it was really advertised everywhere for so long. You know, Black Friday, it's meant to be the last Friday of November. It's meant to be, if you're American, it's the Friday after Thanksgiving. But when we look at our data, it does show that things seem to be coming earlier and earlier. All those advertisements came much earlier in the month. Just with every year, it seems to be that way. And then also it looks like our spending because of that is being drawn earlier and earlier as well. I didn't participate this year.
Nothing?
No,
nothing
I
at all?
didn't.
Not even Christmas presents?
Nothing. That's the thing. I feel like this is going to come back to bite me in the wallet that I haven't done my Christmas shopping just yet. But nothing really, spoke to me. I just saw sales around 20, 30%. I was really, maybe it's the things I was looking at. I remember like last couple years ago, it would be something closer to 60, 70%. It could be the fact that they had a lot more stock to clear. You know, we had that whole just in time to just in case or whatever inventory management system change. So maybe they had a lot more stock to clear last time. But this year, 20% was really what I saw, which wasn't enough, I think, to get me pulling. What about you?
Yeah, no, maybe it's like kind of a bit of a strategy though, because I felt the same way in terms of like I looked at the sales and I went, oh, that's not like that enticing. But then they just like didn't go away.
Yeah.
Like it was just 20% or 25% off like for weeks and weeks at different stores to the point where, I'd go out and then I'd see something and I'm like, I try it on, for example. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I actually will get it. So maybe it's like a bit of a strategy.
Persistence.
The persistence just kind of gets to you and you kind of feel that weight of like, oh, I should be buying something because it is on sale. So I definitely fell victim a little bit there, but still responsible spending.
Yeah.
But in terms of spending, again, I think it's interesting because we'll talk to the data, but what I spent on was mainly clothing and apparel. But you've had a look at the Kiwibank card data and along with showing that, the sales started way earlier and the volumes of spend picked up earlier, it also found that clothing and apparel isn't actually doing that well, right?
No, so we were looking at Kiwibank data, and it was across things like clothing and footwear, department stores, household contents and furnishings, home electronics, all those kind of retail goods specifically. It looked like spending had increased quite strongly compared to the month before, but if we compare it to last year's November Friday, Black Friday kind of sales, a lot of them were actually down. So clothing and footwear was down almost 10%. Department stores also almost down around 10%. So core retail was down about, around 1.5% compared to last year's levels. But again, it's very much a mixed bag because while those categories were down, things like housing related, household contents and furnishings, hardware were all up pretty decently over the year.
Which spend in those housing related categories, that has been something that has been improving over the last kind of quarter or 2 quarters or so, right? Because we didn't we go through a period where people were actually just not spending around the house. And now that's starting to flipped back.
Yeah, that was the first one to try and change. So we looked at card spending data over September, and it was the same story. Consumer spending overall was quite weak, but in the space of housing, specifically home contents or hardware, there was some good news coming through there, and that seemed to have continued over this November month. Sets up probably a good summer of spending. So it seems like we're kind of moving. Kiwis are, I guess, opening up their wallets, but they're being a bit more selective in terms of what they're spending. This time last year, it was clothing and footwear that were kind of the real winners. This time around, it's people buying, I don't know, fridges or just home content stuff, couches. Exactly.
I mean, hey, IKEA did open up, although that was not around for Black Friday, but people have probably missed out on the whole IKEA buzz now.
Yeah, you almost wanted to have time to earlier, but maybe it'll come through in, I guess, the December.
The Boxing Day sales.
The Boxing Day sales, that could be quite good. So I think this Black Friday sales, I guess the big takeaway is that there is a bit more discretionary spending happening, which is good news. Could be the fact that bargains are around, so people are just looking for a good deal, but also the fact that interest rates have fallen, so there's more money in the back pocket to be spent on other things.
Yeah.
So it's, I guess, a good sign for this upcoming trading season. Hopefully it becomes more broad-based, the gains.
Yeah.
I mean, people have to go buy Christmas presents
you
like me, and you can't just give everyone a fridge, right? So we're going to do buy other things in retail. So, I mean, it looked kind of positive, at least parts of it were quite positive.
And I guess the parts that are quite positive in the housing space, we've mentioned it before, but that's quite a good indicator of maybe housing market activity picking up. If people are spending, whether it's furnishing because maybe they're moving house, they want to upgrade, so they're getting housing turnover, or maybe if it's on the DIY, they want to get a fresh lick of paint on the house to make it look good for when they put it up over the summer. So that's a good indicator as well, right, for the housing market.
Yeah, that kind of gives us we are starting to see, sales in terms of housing picking up. So it could be the fact that there's more housing market turnover, so people need to buy a new couch or need to buy new furniture. So there are signs that things are turning for the housing market. Also the fact that, as you said, more hardware, more DIY to kind of spruce up the house a little bit to get it ready for selling in the new year does give us, I guess, a bit of confidence that next year should be a strong year for housing. Just looking at the start. I mean, we saw it during COVID. We saw the madness and all of that spending coupled with how the housing market performed over that time as well. So, yeah, it looks like the thing is it seems very concentrated for now, but over time we should see that more broad-based gain happening.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to point out was the electronic goods didn't do crazy well, but we did see last week we talked a bit about retail sales, nationwide. This was Stats NZ data for the September quarter, and we saw, those electronic goods did actually perform quite well over the September quarter. Obviously, Black Friday happens in the current December quarter, but looking at our card transactional data, it doesn't seem to be doing as good as it did last year. Do you think people have just bought all of their electronics in the September quarter, or could it also just be, because I think you were mentioning when we're pulling that Kiwibank transactional data, it takes it's got a couple of days delay. And, we wanted to get this information to you as soon as possible. So we couldn't include Cyber Monday in there, which, Cyber Monday tends to be your more tech-heavy discount. So we might have to come back at some point and look at how Cyber Monday did. But do you think there's anything else going on there?
Oh, it's probably that. I mean, our data just looks at, I think, until the end of November. So it didn't capture that last Cyber Monday sale period. So home electronics kind of underperformed this year. Maybe it's the fact that they had, as you said, done most of it in September. But maybe in December we'll see a bit of a change there in terms of where we're spending. I think just looking for that bargain. And did you buy anything in the Cyber Monday sales?
No, not Cyber Monday. I was kind of already shopped out. And again, mine was so clothing and apparel related. I didn't buy anything kind of beyond that.
Oh, and do you know what else was kind of interesting over November as well, Black Friday sales? Stationery and books. That was up 6%. We were spending more at Wickles and Paper Plus, it seems.
Okay, interesting. I'm a big reader, but I've just transitioned purely to Kindles these days. And so,
So you didn't participate in that either?
I didn't participate in that either.
I do like paperback. So that would be me. I didn't buy this year though.
It makes sense though. I guess people are like getting ready for summer. We've had great weather.
Yeah.
People wanting to go lie on the beach, take their book with them. So 6%, did you say?
6% on last year. Yeah.
Right. That is pretty.
It's a good
big.
Christmas present as well, right?
That's true.
So maybe there's a bit of that as well.
Now, we've probably already brought up the chart at the beginning, but when you made this chart, I really loved looking at it. It's the one of how Black Friday sales just are happening earlier and earlier in the year. It's coming up right now. It seems like, this whole month is quite an elevated spend month is what it's becoming. But how does it, still compare to Boxing Day? Like, do you think we've seen most of the spending now? Or do you think we'll see a bigger day in I guess, Boxing Day? Yeah, further down the line.
I think for us, so Black Friday, it's, I guess, a relatively new retail phenomenon, probably the last decade or so. It really started in the US, obviously, and it's kind of grown in popularity in New Zealand, people just jumping on that bandwagon. But for us, New Zealand, Boxing Day is still, can I say my line?
What's your line?
My line is Boxing Day is still the pound for pound champ.
Yeah.
In terms of value and volume spending, it still reigns supreme. Boxing Day, most of our spending is on that day alone. To the extent that December month has around 12% of the share of total volume spent in 2024. It's pretty much the same across over recent history, whereas across the year, other months are kind of around that 7 to 8%. So December really outperforms in terms of retail spending. So it really does mean that Boxing Day trumps all retail days for that spending. So I guess the Black Friday sales kind of give you
an indication
what it could look like, and it looks like it's going to be quite strong.
Well, I think retailers, listening in, that might be quite good news for them. And to be fair, retailers have in the past sort of like business surveys been one of the most optimistic of the turnaround, even though we kind of took a while to actually see the signs of life emerging. Notice how I didn't use that other word that starts with a green and ends with a shoot. But that's good. That gives them a good indication going into the festive season and the summer as well. And, why are we finally seeing retail actually respond? Well, it's because interest rates have finally moved at levels that, do free up a bit more disposable incomes, and households, even though they're still a bit constrained with those rising costs of essentials, they do have more disposable incomes because of those falls in interest rates. Yeah,
exactly. It's those retail, construction, they're the most sensitive to interest rate changes, and interest rates today are much lower, much meaningfully lower than where they were last year. So there is a bit more money to be spent on other things. And, there's, around 30-40% of the mortgage book is about to roll over in the next 3 months. So that's going to be quite a big relief on the household budget. So there's a bit more money to be spent. And it's just showing that monetary policy is working. This interest rate relief is coming, and it's helping boost consumer demand. And that's exactly what businesses need right now, right?
Yeah, like monetary policy was never broken. Like, it's not like why has it suddenly clicked? It's not because it just took time. It was getting to those stimulating levels, right? Yeah. So it is working. It's always worked. It's just it took a while to get there. But we won't dwell on that too much. As you say, those interest rate sectors we're starting to see them come to life a bit. Moving away a little bit from retail, there was the construction sector. We saw some building activity data out for the September quarter, pretty strong, more than expected. Still nothing shooting out the light, and we still have to kind of climb our way out of where we've been with the fall in building activity and construction activity. But it was up 1.5% over the September quarter, strong. And I think most market had it at a 0.2% expansion, so much stronger.
And it was resi.
And then the residential space. So, those lower interest rates are kind of getting people thinking, all right, the housing market's going to turn as well. So you're seeing that sort of anticipation build. I think residential was up 2.8% over the quarter.
Yeah.
And if you look at, like your building consents, which are more of a forward-looking indicator for building activity, then we have seen that building consents have been sort of tracking higher since the second half of this year. Yeah. So, there is signs that there's more to come in the space. And of course they will be, because we do have those people, rolling off onto lower rates.
Yeah, we're at that turning point. It just seems like every data we're getting is just confirmation of this turning point, that we're past the worst, which is exactly what we've been wanting to hear and wanting to see. And it does set up 2026 to be a pretty good year, right? But we won't do any spoilers because we're going to do our outlook note
next week,
which
is going to be a really, really great episode. Are we done here?
I think we are.
Okay. Well, in that case, a promo for next week's episode, because this was great. But next week, we're taking it to a whole nother level because we're talking about our outlook for 2026. We're getting the crystal ball out. And as we do, trying to see what's in store.
Yeah.
And we have kind of hinted to it. It is a positive story. But for all the details, make sure to tune in next week. But it's been fun talking about Black Friday. You better start getting onto your Christmas shopping.
I know. I got to get that list going.
And, hopefully by this time next week, you might have some more done because time's ticking.
We've only got... This year is getting away from me.
Next week's episode is also the last for the year.
Yeah.
So we won't be able to have an update on your Christmas shopping until the new year. Yeah. All right. I think that's us. We'll catch you next time. As always, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. You've been tuned into This is Kiwi Economics, Markets, Mystics, and Mayhem. We'll be back next week for more analysis and insights.
Any views or information shared in this podcast, while given in good faith, aren't necessarily the views of Kiwibank.